Imagine a world where you open your eyes in the morning and before light, before sound, before thought itself, something else arrives first, an awareness so foreign, so impossibly subtle, so fundamentally hidden from the human condition that it feels like waking into another layer of existence. Imagine if humans possessed a quantum sense, a biological ability to perceive the smallest, strangest, most essential structures of reality, not through instruments, not through equations, not through billion-dollar experiments, but through direct experience. You would not see atoms the way microscopes reveal them. You would not hear particles the way sensors detect them. You would feel the quantum fabric of the universe as simply as you feel wind on your skin. And that single change, that one evolutionary leap, would transform everything humanity ever understood about nature, consciousness, and existence itself. Before anything else, the world would feel alive in ways you never imagined. Standing in your room, you would sense electrons not as dots but as clouds of possibilities, swelling and shrinking like invisible tides. Every object would emit a faint hum, not sound but vibration, the rhythmic oscillation of atomic structures dancing with energy. Walls would no longer be still. They would shimmer with probability. A simple wooden table would feel like a dense forest of vibrating fields, each atom flickering between existence and non-existence, each molecule tunneling electrons from one orbit to another. Nothing would feel solid anymore. You would realize solidity is an illusion. Matter is mostly empty space, held together by invisible forces your new sense can finally perceive. And for the first time in history, a human being would experience the truth of reality not as a textbook explanation, not as a theory, not as a guess, but as a sensory fact. The universe is not made of objects. It's made of interactions. Walking outside would feel overwhelming at first. The Earth's magnetic field, normally silent, invisible, ignorable, would stretch across your mind like a colossal web. You would sense its gradient shifting as you move, like oceanic current constantly brushing against you. Birds have felt this for millions of years, but you would be the first human to truly experience the planet's magnetic skeleton. Trees would glow with faint electromagnetic halos. Power lines would roar like cosmic rivers. Storm clouds would pulse with electrical tension long before rain ever fell. Every step you take would stir a subtle alteration in the surrounding quantum fields, and your brain would register these shifts as naturally as your skin registers temperature. But the strangest, most disorienting sensation would not come from Earth. It would come from you. Your own body would become a landscape you've never visited before. Your heart would pulse not only with rhythm, but with a ripple of electromagnetic patterns spreading through your chest. When the first generation of humans with quantum sense began moving through the world, something subtle yet undeniably profound started to happen. Their perception of space itself changed. Objects no longer appeared as fixed shapes occupying familiar positions. Instead, everything felt suspended inside invisible currents of probability. A simple metal railing on a staircase pulsed with the faint rhythm of electron activity. A passing bus shimmered with the electromagnetic pulses rippling through its engine. Even the air around them carried layers of quantum fluctuations, tiny shifts in density, pressure, and vibration that ordinary humans would never notice. It wasn't overwhelming anymore. As the brain adapted, this quantum information stopped feeling like noise and started feeling like a secondary form of vision, a way of reading the underlying script of reality. Every step taken felt like walking through a dynamic fabric, with fields stretching and contracting as if existence had become a fluid rather than a solid. What surprised humanity most wasn't the sensory overload, but the new type of intuition that formed around quantum sense. People began making decisions not based on logic, but on a strange, almost precognitive awareness of probability shifts. They didn't predict the future, rather, their brains could sense the subtle differences in quantum noise that preceded events. Someone walking down the street would pause without knowing why, only to see a cyclist rush past the spot they were about to step into. Another person would hesitate before crossing a road because their quantum sense detected microscopic vibrations in the ground a truck approaching before sound or sight revealed it. Probability was no longer an abstract idea. It became a physical sensation, something like pressure building in the mind, a signal that the fabric of events was leaning in a certain direction. Scientists tried to study these individuals intensely, but the real breakthroughs came from the quantum-sensitive humans themselves. They could stand in front of an experimental chamber and instantly identify whether a quantum state was stable or collapsing. They could sense when entangled particles decayed, as if an invisible thread snapped somewhere inside their awareness. Every physicist in the world realized something shocking. The human brain, equipped with this new sense, was better at detecting subtle quantum transitions than any machine humans had ever built. Instruments measured outcomes, but quantum sense humans experienced transitions. They didn't read data, they felt the shift. And so they became the most valuable observers in scientific history, able to perceive events that no detector could replicate. As quantum sense humans continued to evolve, their perception of reality shifted from something external to something participatory. They no longer moved through the world as separate observers. They moved with the world, embedded within its microscopic rhythms. For them, reality did not feel like a stage where events unfolded. It felt like a living field where everything influenced everything else. This change in perception quietly reshaped the foundations of human identity. They still had names, memories, personalities, and stories, but beneath those familiar layers, they felt part of a vast, interconnected system. Their existence stretched outward into the quantum fields humming around them and inward into the atomic vibrations of their own selves. And because of this expanded sense of being, the boundary between self and environment blurred in ways that classical humans struggled to comprehend. The moment that defined the shift came in a research facility built specifically for quantum-sensitive individuals. Scientists wanted to measure the limits of their perception. In one experiment, a cluster of entangled photons was stored in a vacuum chamber. The quantum state was delicate, fragile, barely stable enough for instruments to measure. Researchers asked a quantum-sensitive participant to simply stand near the chamber and describe what they felt. They expected vague impressions, nothing concrete. Instead, the individual quietly stated that the entangled state was on the verge of decoherence, as if the delicate balance holding the particles together was thinning like stretched fabric. When technicians checked the readings, they found that the participant was correct. Their sense of entanglement matched the machine measurements down to the exact moment the state collapsed. It was the first time in history that a human being perceived something happening at the quantum level not through theory or technology, but through direct sensory awareness. And this changed everything. Machines could detect events, but this person could feel them. The universe had always been full of invisible interactions, but now a human could stand in a room and sense them as easily as others sense a gust of wind. But the experiments produced something even more remarkable. When a second quantum-sensitive person entered the room, both individuals reported that they could feel each other's neural fields shifting in response to the entangled photons. It wasn't telepathy. It wasn't mind reading. It was resonance, their quantum sense reacting to the same underlying field changes simultaneously. They became aware not only of the experiment, but of each other's awareness of the experiment. Two conscious minds perceiving the same quantum signals formed a kind of synchronized perception.